Hi everyone, Sue from IC Sugar. We're still here in lockdown in Melbourne, so to keep myself occupied, I thought I might go and try a Woolies cake hack. Um, I purchased everything from Woolies for a total of $65 and pretty much got everything I needed with the exception of the turntable, which is my own. So you could actually, or you don't actually need a turntable, you could do it on a bench. But I certainly find it a little bit easier. So I hope you enjoy the results. I think it was pretty successful. And if you've got any questions, feel free to let me know.
So I decided to challenge myself and make this cake for the least amount of money and actually put it together in the quickest amount of time, because I figured if you're going to do this type of thing, then you've either run out of time to actually bake your own cake, or you can't be bothered, or something's happened and you're left in a bit of an emergency and you're going, oh my God, I've got to rush off and grab something and put something together really quickly. I've just done this as quickly as I possibly can and just grabbed whatever I thought would work. Um, I just put the receipt up. Actually, everything cost me, so it actually wasn't $65, it was $68. Um, and you'll see later on that I also had some raffia, which I had bought previously from a $2 shop. So it cost me $2, and I was overcharged for the flowers when I bought this by $5. So that was a little bit annoying. So anyway, I think the net price was about 65. Um, I also believe from the supermarket you can just buy pre-mixed buttercream if you want, and except I chose not to do that, and I hand beat my own. And you can just see here that um, I bought two sorts of butter, because the Danish butter is lighter than in colour than the Australian butter. So apparently it has something to do with the type of milk. I'm not too sure. But anyway, our butter's a bit yellower, so it never beats up quite as white. So you'll see that I got the standard Australian brand and I got the Danish brand, and I beat them together just so I had slightly lighter buttercream. I think you can get like, if I was to make white buttercream, I would have gone off to the cake shop and got shortening, um, which you can't buy the same shortening here in our supermarket. So anyway, so I just grabbed whatever I could, and it is, yeah, slightly yellower than I would like at the end result. But hey, it looks pretty good. Um, so I've got my 2 bowls of buttercream whipped in the background. I think it's a kilo of butter. I actually will put it up later on. Kilo, yeah, around about. Um, and I use a kilo of icing sugar to make my double batch of buttercream. I bought 3 mud cakes, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention. I just grabbed whatever was on the shelf. They're all different patterns and stuff like that. So, and I just got 3 other smaller cakes. I think one was carrot, one was banana, and the other one I can't remember. But anyway, so the whole idea here is I'm just smoothing down the top so it's reasonably level. I've got the 2 mud cakes already put on together, and I'll just put another one on the top, but as you'll see, I turn it upside down so the flat part is to the top of the cake. Just a little bit of the buttercream here to make sure it sticks. And but we're doing all this really, really quickly, and in fact I iced this cake from start to finish in about an hour. If you were going to have pre-mixed buttercream, you could probably do it in 45 minutes. I really didn't pay any great attention to getting everything smooth and square and whatever. I really just put it together as quickly as I possibly could. Yeah, just assuming that you're going to need this to be done pretty quickly. What I'm doing here is the chocolate mud came in these containers with cardboard bottoms. So I've actually cut the cardboard out to provide a support between these 3 mud cakes and the 3 cakes that I'm going to put on top in a minute. Not on the receipt was some bamboo skewers, which I had also got previously from Woolies, where they sell the continental foods. So I think they were, I don't know, a packet of 100 for $2 or something like that, or $3. So they're just basically bamboo skewers, and they're really easy just to break off. So just cutting them off here with the scissors, or marking it and then snapping them off. They do break really, really easily. So we're providing a little bit of support here for the top 3 tiers. Just pop our skewers in, and with the cardboard, I actually cut out 2 circles. Typically, I would have bought a small board from the cake shop that does have a little bit more support than 2 cardboard round pieces. But yeah, so I've just melted some chocolate here, and I've put that on the top, and I'm sticking my cardboard pieces to that. Yeah, so here we go. So just a little bit of melted chocolate, putting that on. And this is the first of my 3 smaller cakes that are going on the top. If I was to bake this at home, I would have used different size tiers, and the distinction or the definition between the 2 tiers was not as much as I would normally like. Normally I would have 2 or 3 inches. But anyway, I just wanted to see if this was something that would substitute an occasion cake that you would purchase from a cake shop. Like, could we actually do this and get away with something that looked reasonable? What I found at this point is that it was a little bit, there was too much movement. The cakes on the top were too soft, and there wasn't enough stability at the bottom. So I basically just poured or melted a lot of dark chocolate, and I've poured it over the top. So dark chocolate will set firm, and it will just provide overall support to the cake and just stop some movement. I really am not being too fussy. I've just poured it over, and I'm really just going to let it run down the sides. I do smooth it out to a certain extent, because when you're going to cover it in buttercream later on, you don't want to have big chocolate pieces poking out. It will just spoil the overall look. So we're just smoothing it down here, just filling in the spaces. We don't need to be fussy. No one's going to see this underneath layer. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to look, incredibly attractive. As I said, no one's actually going to see it, so it's not going to matter too much. So just slap your chocolate on, pour it on. The only thing we don't want to do is we don't want to lose the definition between the 2 tiers. So just make sure that if you've poured it over, you don't have big pieces of, chocolate or big globs that are poking out much further than the rest of the cake. Now we're doing the bottom, and again, you'll see that I'm not overly fussy. I haven't paid particular attention to getting it perfectly straight at this time. Wobbled it there a little bit just to see that it is stable, and surprisingly, it was really pretty good. So what you didn't see there is I lifted the 2 tiers, the cake off the paper, the wax paper I had it sitting on, had someone actually pull the wax paper away because it stuck to the bottom of the cake. And I put it on the board, or the cardboard at the bottom there, with a bit of melted chocolate to make sure that it was secure and safe on the board and it wouldn't move. What I did find is I bought the boards from Woolies as well. They probably are no more than traditional cardboard, I suppose. I didn't really. I mean, they're okay for a small cake. So if it was, 2 or 3 tiers, um, or 2 or 3 individual mud cakes, so half this size, it would have been sufficient. But it really, really wasn't strong enough to support this cake for any, if you're going to drive with it somewhere. So if you had to buy it from Woolies or any other supermarket, if you can't get the masonite boards that are much firmer, then I would suggest probably gluing 2 or 3 of these together to provide added support. It just really wasn't strong enough. So what we're doing here is we're putting all of our buttercream on the cake. Just be generous, slap it all over it. Don't be too fussy. Just make sure you cover the entire thing, from top to bottom, and make sure that you've still got that definition. So we're just wanting to see the distinction between the top and the bottom tier. And I'm also making sure that I don't have any chocolate poking out that you can actually see. So feel free just to pick out any chocolate pieces that are poking out, and basically just cover the cake entirely with your buttercream. Now, long before there was all these fancy cake decorating tools to smooth your cakes down, I actually used to use rulers. So I purchased a ruler from Woolies as well, and I'm just getting the definition here. And again, just running it around, smoothing down all the sides. You will see when you use buttercream that there will be gaps that are probably not that are a little bit indented. So I do go around and fill all of that in, and then I smooth it down again, and then I fill it in and smooth it down again, and I keep doing that process until I've got it looking reasonably smooth. So this is probably the longest part of doing this. I think this probably took me about half an hour. Just continually going around and continually smoothing and adding, just making sure I was happy with it. As I said earlier, you can do this on a bench. Turntable, if you've got one, is obviously better, but you can do it on a bench. It's just a case of having to walk around it. So it's probably just a little bit more inconvenient, and it will probably just take you a little bit longer than it has done here. So at this point, with my ruler, I do get some paper towel out and start actually wiping and drying the paper, using that to take off the buttercream off the ruler. And I just continue doing this again, like I said, for about half an hour. We are just going to do a rough finish on this cake. If I was to have a smooth cake, I would have continued this for a little bit longer, and use some of my right angle tools that I have, which gives a much nicer finish than this. But in the essence of time and just wanting to do it as quickly as I possibly could, I did leave the buttercream finish quite rough. So, again, you can do whatever you want, whatever pattern that you like. So here I've pretty much got it to a stage where I'm happy with it. I'm just giving it one last level, and you can see I'm running it around and just holding that ruler upright and just scraping off any excess buttercream that's poking out. Right, so here's my raffia, and I did just buy this this is a wax coated raffia. Where we go shopping, to the supermarkets near where we live, there is just a $2 store right next door, and I bought this just from the craft section. So it literally cost me $2, and here's me trying to tie it. I actually want it to look flat. I couldn't tie it the right way. I didn't pull it, so because remembering that your cake's buttercream and you don't want to pull it too hard. Anything sticks to buttercream, so you don't need to glue it down or stick it down. It will just adhere to the buttercream itself. Again, you can do whatever patterns you want. You can decorate this cake however you want. You could do sprinkles on the outside or chocolate pieces, or, there's a whole heap of decorations, but I really just wanted something that looked reasonably simple and elegant and would, you could take to a wedding if you really needed to. With the flowers, again, just bought it from Woolies the same time as everything else, and I just grabbed the first lot of flowers that were sitting there that I liked. The only thing, typically I would buy my flowers from a florist, where I knew that everything was grown hygienically without bugs. These roses looked to be really good. I don't actually poke anything into the cake, if you've noticed. I just end up sticking it to the surface, or just to the top. So if someone's going to eat it, they can certainly just pull it off. I tend to use roses. They are an edible flower. You certainly don't want to go putting something on the top that's non-toxic. Just sticking here with a really, really simple arrangement. Nothing too fussy. Just a flower down the top, a flower in to the middle tier there, and at the top I'm just going to arrange the rest in a circular arrangement, and a few poking out the top, so it does sort of represent a nice bouquet. Again, very simple. I think if I had this time over again and I was prepared to spend a little bit more money, I probably would have gone and bought a couple different colours of flowers, and perhaps cascade some flowers down the side, or a little bit more on the top. But, as I said, for some total of around about $65, I think that this was a pretty good outcome, if you're on a budget and you're in a real hurry. As I said, you probably could also have pre-purchased buttercream to save you time. There is other varieties of buttercream you can make, such as Italian meringue, or which is typically a white buttercream. Here's a finished result. I think it looks pretty good. Thank you for watching.